I'll ask a question which, I'll tie it up with something that I've just seen, a similar question somebody is asking on chat. But basically, are there things, exercises, practices that you can do to grow your emotional intelligence? Yes, I know we talked about journaling, but I'm just wondering, are there books you can recommend? Are there podcasts? Are there exercises? I know, Derek, you're a fitness enthusiast, so maybe you can share what has worked for you. All of you, the three of you, you'll take a round to just share what has worked for you practically, that somebody can leave this platform today and start practicing. Start with you, Derek.
Oh, okay. Well, I like the fact that you brought up exercise because that's definitely in my wheelhouse. I think exercise is what has sustained me over the last 15 or 16 months. The regular habit of being able to put my body through physical exertions, and it's proper exercise, not the exercise where in the treadmill and you're on the phone at the same time talking. No, that's pretend exercise. So just to let you know. So definitely exercise. And I think also things related to diet, watching what you eat, consumption of, things like alcohol and stuff like that. Again, to me, physicality equals mentality. Yeah.
Vicky, what has worked for you?
For me, it's the four things I shared earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I never used to do a lot of before was just that practice of reflection. And it's the one new thing that got introduced into my life. And it's the one thing that I now do so religiously, just being able to, whether it's in the morning, waking up, taking time to just sit and sometimes I will wake up and I will wake up anxious, but just sitting down with that anxiety and knowing today is an anxious day. So what are the probabilities that today will turn out fine, like 100? But what will be most likely my go-to behaviors today because I'm anxious? It's having a real honest conversation with yourself. So I have to be careful not to yell at Stella because so the reflection is something new that was added to me. That was about maybe 3 years ago, and it really helped during COVID. And what we used to do with my children when we were in lockdown is we'd have moments again when we sat down to reflect on what we were grateful for. It was a very difficult time for everyone, but even with the kids, just telling them, okay, let's think back. What are you grateful for? And then them discovering they don't have to be grateful for big things. They can just be grateful that today they didn't eat ugali and skuma and that mom was able to buy chicken for them. So, those are small things, but I think they really helped us as a family cope. But I want to share just one thing that someone talked about when we were talking about mindfulness, and it relates to emotional intelligence, is that first understand what it is. You can't start practicing something if you don't really understand what it is. So back to what Derek was saying, knowledge. You have to learn what it is. Look for avenues to really understand what is EI. Look for people to teach you. When you start understanding what it is the only time now you can start really effectively developing that skill.
Well, in addition to what they've said, for me is self-awareness. Understanding who you are. And I thank Vicky. By the way, I got to understand who I am last year. During the COVID, attending so many webinars. Yeah. And then when you get to understand who you really are, not a photocopy of somebody else, because we all have this person you'd like to be like. And I keep telling people, you can never be a photocopy can never be the original. So one, understanding who I am, and it's a journey, still learning. Number two is mindfulness, what Vicky has said. This one I learned through Shazad. Just when you feel things are getting out of hand. Yeah. At first it was not easy, but now I can do it. Practicing to breathe. Yeah. In fact, there's a session where he says, breathe until you can hear yourself breathing. Yeah. And it works. And to the point that even when I'm anxious, in fact, when I started the session, I was anxious, but what I started doing was breathing. I could tell my breathing. That requires discipline. And other than just breathing, just closing your eyes. The first time you have to close your eyes because it's a skill you have to learn. Just breathe in, out until the point you can hear your, now I'm breathing, normally you can hear yourself breathing in and out. And then touching your fingertips. Yeah, you could be in a meeting, you could be somebody, just rubbing your fingertips to the point you can feel the grooves of your, what are they called?
Fingerprints.
Fingerprints. To the point you can feel the grooves of your fingerprints. Yeah. With time, even if you are so upset and angry, you see yourself calming down. And then lastly, I always ask myself, what lesson did I pick? Yeah, because we'll always make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, you feel bad about it. And when you feel bad about it, it brings your emotions down. But I ask myself, what lesson did I pick? And that helps. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are all just really learning a lot from you. So one last question, and then each panelist will just give their closing remarks, but let's first deal with this question. So somebody asked, when you tend to value so much of personality in people when it comes to relationship, and often you ask them about themselves in terms of their most embraced attributes and the ones that defines them the most, does that make you an intelligent, emotionally? So you tend to value people so much, their personalities. So every time in a relationship or in the relationships you are in, you ask them their most embraced attributes and the ones that define them the most. Does that mean that you're not emotionally intelligent?
So he said, before you enter a relationship, you ask the person about the personal attributes or their personality. I think that's what he was asking, right?
Yes, the things, those personal attributes that they value the most. I guess the way I understood it is you're getting into this relationship and you want to sort of understand them or know them better. So you first begin by asking them a series of questions. Could be, what attributes do you value the most? I think it's a way to try and find if your values are connected. That's how I see it.
I mean, just speaking from, not even from an emotional intelligence perspective, I think, getting to know someone before you get into a relationship with them, I think is important. And if you want to ask people all series of questions, you ask people about their life, you ask them about what they value in life, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, if you're doing it in a way that, doesn't come across like you're maybe grilling them or something like that. So I would say, yeah, that's fine. I think there's nothing emotionally unintelligent about getting to know someone before you get into a relationship with them. In fact, I would advocate for that.
Somebody asked about books that you can recommend that will help improve one's emotional intelligence. I don't know, podcasts that you listen to that have worked for you.
If you want a good book, I think that the fundamental books about EI by Daniel Goleman or who's the other one? Travis? Maybe Derek can recommend. The books that I think I have read on EI are not necessarily just on emotional intelligence, a topic. They are on different things, so I can't even remember half of them. But one book that I always keep reading for me is always The 7 Habits, and that has nothing to do with emotional intelligence. It's been with me since I was in campus. It meant something different to me when I was just working, and it means something very different to me in this stage of my life. So there are very many books you can read on EI, I think. Maybe Monique.
The only one probably I'd add is the one by Shazad. For me, that was an eye-opener. Positive Intelligence. He says it's a step up from AI. How you can activate your sage and reduce your saboteurs.